Good morning there. Thank you very much for joining us. This is your continuing coverage of the elections here on KIVUMBI 2017. Glad that you could join us this morning. My name is Betty Callo, and it is the 14th day of August 2017. I trust wherever you are, you're safe and you're doing well. All right, now business leaders are this morning expected to issue a statement calling for the resumption of normal business in the country. The leaders under the Kenya Daima initiative will be calling for a resumption to work and business a day after NASA leader Raila Odinga asked his supporters not to report to work today. Now, Raila called for boycott yesterday, saying that it will be a day to remember his supporters killed by police following days of protests all over the country over the poll results. Thank you very much for joining us. That is one of the top stories that we have for you this morning. We understand that that press briefing will be happening any moment now from the business leaders under the banner of Kenya Daima, and we'll be crossing over there to follow through with that. But away from the work boycott call, we are also focusing on the situation here in the country. Our reporters, like I mentioned, in different locations will be keeping us updated on the situations. Here in Nairobi, County Police Commander Japheth Koome will be issuing a statement this hour on the state of security. That's something that we'll be looking forward to in a few moments. This morning, we'll also expect a briefing from the tourism CS Najib Balala. He will be talking about the impact of the ongoing impasse on the tourism sector. So those are just some of the top stories that we have for you this morning. Thank you very much for staying with KTN News. Remember, we'll be having conversations here in studio, and I'd like you to be part of it. You can just talk to me. Hashtag to use is KIVUMBI 2017, or you can choose to tweet me at Betty M. Callo. We would like to hear what you have to say about those different conversations we'll be having. And on our Twitter poll, as you can see on your screens, we're asking you this morning, is NASA leader Raila Odinga's call for his supporters to boycott work justified? That is our Twitter poll. Would like to hear what you have to say. It's a statement really that has gotten quite a number of different and varied reactions all across the country, but we'd like to hear what you have to say. Is that boycott call justified? Hashtag to use is KIVUMBI 2017, or tweet me directly at Betty M. Callo. I'll be very glad to just hear what you have to say about the different conversations and the different aspects and angles to what the NASA leader had to say yesterday. So those are just some of the top stories. We'll also be having a panel discussion here in studio. I will be joined by Moses Chelanga, who is a lawyer. I'll also be talking to David Osianya, a public policy consultant, together with Anthony Munene, who is also a lawyer. We'll be delving deeper into some of these issues that we have been dealing with since the declaration of the results on Friday. All right, let's now get straight into some of the top stories I mentioned. And business leaders are this morning expected to issue a statement calling for the resumption of normal business in the country. Now, the leaders under the Kenya Daima initiative will be calling for a resumption to work and a business a day after NASA leader Raila Odinga asked his supporters not to report to work today. Now, Raila called for this boycott yesterday, saying that it will be a day to remember his supporters who have been killed by police following days of protests over the poll results.
Tukatoa makaratasi wakasema hayo yalikuwa ni uongo. Tulisema kulikuwa na kikosi maalum ya wanajeshi ambayo ilikuwa inawekwa tayari na Jubilee. Walijua watashindwa, na baada ya kushindwa watajaribu kuiba. Sasa ndio sababu wamekuja kwa watu wote ambao wana hatia, wanapiga risasi, alafu wamebeba magunia ya kubeba mzoga. Hakuna, kwa sababu wanajubilia wameweka maaskari na wanajeshi na bunduki. Watu ovyo. Kesho usiotoke nyumbani, kesho hakuna kazi.
All right, so that's what happened yesterday, and that's also the basis of our Twitter question today. We want to hear from you if you feel that Raila Odinga's call for a boycott to work is justified. I'm getting already quite a number of tweets. Maybe I can just sample one as we continue. And Jaggy Mike, you say, wish I could, but had to work today, regardless of yesterday's declaration. Eve Minette, thank you for watching. You say, we have to build this country. We're already at work. Everyone should go to work. All right, moving on to some other comments. Evelyn Casina, you say we have to build this country. We are already at work. Tell me what you think. I'd like to hear what you think about Raila Odinga's call to boycott work today. That's also a conversation we'll be having here in studio shortly. All right, so speaking about going to work and having normal businesses resuming here in the country, I'd like to bring in my colleague Hilary Orende, who's joining us from the city center, to just give us an overview of what really the city center is like. Thank you very much for joining us, Hilary. So last week, very many Kenyans, and citizens here in the CBD kept off work. They were staying at home, basically just waiting for the results to be announced. What is the situation today? Are people coming back to the CBD? Is it a normal day from your observation and assessment?
Thank you, Betty. We're coming to you live from the CBD, where we find that this town was a sleepy town in the last week, but right now people are reporting back to the town and businesses are opening. If you check, because before we went on air last week, you could check parking lots. They were very deserted, but right now the parking lots are full of vehicles. This was not a situation that was seen last week when people were waiting for the results. But right now, it is a buzz of activities, and we did a spot check before we came on air where we saw business opening, we had banks open, we have cafeterias that are already up and operating. And to join me, just to bring this or to give this a bigger perspective, I'm joined by one of those people who have decided to report to work today, and he's going to tell us what he feels about this day. Labda ungeweza tueleza jina lako kwanza na tuambie hali ya kazi ni vipi leo?
Naitwa Samuel Wanjala. Hali ya kazi kwa kweli imeanza kurudi, sababu ukilinganisha na siku zilizopita, siku zile kutoka last week Friday, hakuja kuwa na kazi. Na kawaida mambo kama haya yakitendeka, watu wadogo kama sisi ndio huwa tunapitia shida, sababu maisha inakuwa ngumu, manake watu wanapokosekana kwenye kazi yetu sana kama ya boda, huwa hatupati watu sababu hakuna watu town. Kwa hivyo tumekuwa na changamoto mingi tunayopitia. Tunaomba watu warudi kazini na tuendelee kujenga nchi yetu.
Thank you, Betty. That is the sentiments of one among the people who are the very core of the business in this town. And now, if we check today, because we find people are already reporting back to work, and it's a buzz of activities. Because also earlier today, we received an invite where the police commander, Japhet Koome, is expected to give a press briefing at this area where I'm standing. Japhet Koome, is a Nairobi County Commander, and is supposed to assess the situation of the security. The police in the country, or the police rather in Nairobi, have been blamed of using excessive force to quell the violence or the chaos that erupted after the results were announced in Kibera and Mathare. So any minute from now, we are going to expect Japhet Koome to tell us the current situation of security in the country. Betty?
Before I let you go, maybe you could talk to us about the security situation as you see it on the ground wherever you are. Last week, there were quite a number of officers on the ground just basically doing patrols even in the CBD. Are you able to see that today?
The situation right now is not as last week, where the town was full of police officers that were walking around the central business district doing spot checks of security. Right now, when we were coming to this location, we did not see not even a single police officer in town. Betty.
All right. Thank you very much, Hilary Arena there, just reporting from the city centre, bringing us to speed with what's happening there. It's a different situation, like he's mentioned, from last week. Last week, the city was really deserted. The CBD was even worse. But today, as you've seen in the pictures there, Kenyans really coming back to normalcy. And remember, we would like to hear your thoughts on our Twitter poll this morning. We're asking you if the NASA leader, Raila Odinga's call for his supporters to boycott work is justified. Very many comments coming through, and I'll be sampling them as we continue here on Kivumbi 2017. But moving on the same stretch, and Deputy President William Ruto is urging Kenyans to close ranks after the elections and forge ahead as a united nation. Ruto spoke at his Faith Evangelistic Church in Karen, where he joined other Christians for prayers on Sunday.
Everybody who won, both in Jubilee and in NASA, I want to say to all of us, pray for us so that we can continuously build bridges of friendship, of brotherhood, of unity amongst the entirety of the people of Kenya. Knowing that there is a reason why each one of us, God has allowed them to be leaders at a time like this in our country. It doesn't matter who you voted for. Today, we are all winners because we have leaders in our country. And I want to ask all of us, all Kenyans, whatever they are, to pray for those of us who have been elected, irrespective of our political affiliations, to seek to do the will of God.
All right, so that is Deputy President William Ruto yesterday just calling for peace. He was speaking at a church service yesterday. All right, like I mentioned, we want to have a vibrant conversation about very many issues that are taking center stage here in our country. Let me introduce my guest right now. Sitting next to me is Moses Chalanga. He is a lawyer and a political analyst. Thank you for your time, Moses. We also have David Osiani, who's a public policy consultant. Thank you for your time. And last but not least, at my extreme right, we have Anthony Munene, who's a lawyer and an analyst. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time. So first things first, a lot is happening in the country, especially after the declaration of the presidential results. Moses, what is your assessment with everything that's happening? Maybe just an opening statement about what you feel as a Kenyan.
I mean, this is water under the bridge. The president has been declared, or the president-elect has been declared. So what is happening now is that for those who have lost, it's not easy to lose. I mean, it's not something that you will take it easy. There is a lot of pain to those who have lost. But again, life has to move on. But again, what I would also say is that what we are seeing now is that there is a lot of deep rift and division. If you talk to some people on both camps of the two, NASA and Jubilee, but again the president said, and he extended a hand and he said, I will be your president. And we hope so that going forward, when President Uhuru Kenyatta will be sworn, we'll be able to be on first priority to be able to unite all of us,
right.
And we have a country to build.
All right, and David, talking about uniting all of us, as Moses is putting it, you know, there are people who've described the situation right now as Kenya being a divided nation. From where you sit, do you feel that? Because, you know, on one hand, you have almost half of the country celebrating that, you know, my person won, and the other side saying, you know, maybe there was foul play. I'm not too happy that my candidate did not win.
The question for me, Betty, would be, is losing the election just the mere problem we are dealing with? And my answer is probably not. The thing is, this nation has been a segregated and divided nation on tribal lines. So therefore, the winners feel they have it all, and the losers feel they have lost it all. Are we even sure that the losers have lost? Time and again when I was on this show, I remember expressing my problems with the IEBC communication. The second last press conference by Orengo and Mudavadi asked for very simple things. In fact, from their tone, they had climbed down from "we have won" to "yes, we think we have won, but there's a possibility we lost the election.
All right.
We are requesting, can we have a look into this server?" That was not handled well. The IEBC did not come back to tell us how did they handle the request from NASA.
All right.
Was it even guaranteed?
All right.
Fast forward.
Yes.
The results are declared. President is declared president. And then you have a country who, because of how ethnicized and ethnocentric our nation is, the supporters of Raila Odinga feel we have lost everything. Why? Because the others have a tragic sense of entitlement to that seat. For them, this has been an investment in a hope and redemption for their side of the nation that's been excluded. Because our nation is very ethnocentric, people tend to believe that if only we are able to lift one of our own to that hallowed spot, if only one of us can get to represent us, then maybe we will have some development.
All right.
When that does not happen, it leaves a people who are bitter. Now, this is what must happen. Sorry, I know it's taken a bit of time. It calls on Uhuru and Ruto, should they be sworn in as president, to make tough decisions. That whereas we have our chairman of Jubilee Party, who comes from Western, Ken Lusaka, having lost an election, to possibly appoint to the cabinet, we will have to show that we really are down to fixing this country, as Archbishop Olesapit of the ACK Church said, and say, you know what, we love you, but the tough decision we are going to make here is, where is Boni Halwale, who criticized us, and can he fit into these shoes? Where is Ekuru Aukot, the Turkana boy who said he had a third way about what's going on in this country? Where is Omar Hassan, who was the Secretary General of NASA, for example, who has lost the election? Can he come and lace our dream with their dreams so that people can see that instead of getting our stooges into positions, we really are down to healing this country?
All right. Anthony, I'd like to hear your thoughts about how do we, move forward. We have a lot to discuss, but just looking at the situation right now, from what David is saying, it sounds like, this is something that has been simmering or boiling under, and then finally now it's coming out. It's not even about merely about the election solidly, but we have other issues that have been, on the down low, but then now they're coming up.
Absolutely, and you cannot put it better than how David has put it, that the way moving forward in these countries will all be about inclusivity. Because if you don't heal that divide that has been there for a very long time, and people feeling excluded, then you cannot say that you have a nation, or you'll just have a state for whatever it's worth. But it's about time to move to nationhood, and it's about inclusivity and bringing everybody on board. And that divergence of opinion must be what must be our building block. So that, as David says, as the new government is sworn in, then they must think beyond our being told that it's a government of two groups. People must feel that they're part of the system, so that even the minorities must feel included, the marginalized and so forth. So that's for me is the way forward.
All right.
If we don't have inclusivity this way, this time round, going forward, things will just continue being the same, and we'll continue being a polarized country, which is not good for anybody. And
it's interesting that you're saying that, because, you can imagine bringing this, this country together, almost 6 million on one hand, almost 7 million on one hand, and we'll be discussing just how much of, work, we have moving forward. But let's go back to that important conversation about the police and how they've been able to carry themselves out in the last maybe 1 or 2 days. We've had, the police coming out so strongly and saying, no, we have not used excessive force. But on the other hand, we as KTN News yesterday went to Mathare and spoke to people who actually confirmed that police came and they did this to us. First of all, what is your assessment of that, Moses? On one hand, police is saying this, but Kenyans themselves are speaking out and saying these people came for us inside our homes.
The body language of the CS for Internal Security, Dr. Matiang'i, is not something to write home. The guy is talking at the people. He's not talking to us. is, you know, is making a country like almost a police state. Moving forward is that you see the police is denying, but the public is confirming. Like, as you said, KTN, other people, Independent Medical Legal Unit have gone, IPOA has gone there, and they have actually found out that there are people, or innocent civilians, unarmed, have been killed, including the 9-year-old girl. So in my own assessment, I think there is something that we need to also look going forward, because this is a country we are coming from as a season of extrajudicial killings, and we need to address that. We have to look at it in the eye and say, is the police reforms that we have been pushing for, is there any fruit in it? Because you see what is happening in Kisumu, what is happening in Mathare, what is happening in Kibera. And also coming back to the issue of inclusivity that Ocean is talking about. Yes. You see that the people who are suffering police brutality are Raila Odinga supporters. Yeah. That is not a good message to send to a country. That is a police service. It's not a force that is used to attack a particular group of people. So the discussion that we just ended is that we are seeing a situation whereby the state is being used to pursue a certain group of people.
But is it also a certain group of people? Because, I mean, if you go to Mathare, everybody lives there. Of course, you have a bigger majority of people who come from one tribe, but you have a cocktail of other people, Kenyans, who live there.
But if you see the victims, it speaks for itself. The people who are complaining about it is that, I mean, we don't need to sugarcoat this thing. We don't need, it's not a rocket science. We know the guys who have suffered, the statistics who have of the numbers and names and all that. It speaks to you, because you would see, I don't buy that idea that, of course, a cosmopolitan group, but the information we have also is that it is a targeted attack.
All right. Yeah. David, we have, this number has been, conflicted or argued over just how many people have lost their lives as a result of excessive force. On one hand, you have human rights groups coming out and saying about 24. Others are even saying it's higher. But the police has come out to say, actually, every person who's died, and there's a statement that only highlighted 5, were all criminals. And yet we're talking about there's a 6-month-old baby in Kisumu who has been admitted after police hit her with the whatever. What is your sense? What does that say?
You know, Betty, a 6-month-old child, baby Pendo, lies in an ICU because he was hit by a police who was busy beating up on the parents. 80-year-old Moranya Biengi was shot from the balcony, and the police deny it. 2 sons of one mother were pulled out of their house and shot at point-blank range and died in Kisumu. And as if that is not enough, you have the deaths in Kibra. And I don't know, Moses and Anthony are the ones who are lawyers. They probably would tell me whether we have any law in this country that allows police to kill criminals. So let's first say the 80-year-old child or 6-month-old baby Pendo is a criminal. Fine. Which law allows you to kill them? And it is the reason why healing this country will take such concerted and audacious efforts. For the people living right now, it is an ethnic cleansing of the Luo community, targeted at the Luo community, and carrying with it a few others who are not targeted. So for them it is baby Mora died without Matiang'i knowing he would die. And I want to address Matiang'i, who's personally known to me and an elder of my church, that a duty calls for honesty. And if he is the Christian he is, then he ought to look at the police in the eyes and tell them what you're doing is wrong and investigate. What he should have told the country is, I am aware there have been a number of deaths, and we are going to investigate. And whoever is found to be a perpetrator and have abused his role as an officer will be punished. Until that is done, the rest of the country, it's still just stoking that anger, telling them, you know what, as if it is not enough. We will not clarify to you whether you won or lost. As if that is not enough, we will go on to kill you. Now, when you do that, then you will have the crisis that the United States has currently with its black people. A people who have been, over the time, left out, mistreated, and so they have been radicalized because of that. And when they are radicalized, my fear is, someday, if we don't handle this, we will wake up to young people who have organized themselves overnight when police are not there and end up with a tragedy for this nation.
All right.
So I expect the security apparatus, when Dr. Matiang'i goes back on press, let him own up that we are disappointed our police officers used excessive force, shot at, because Owino confirms. So Matiang'i refuses.
Yes.
The spokesperson of the police confirms they've shot a few people, trying to cleanse it and say, no, we only shot criminals, which is not even anchored on the law. The end result is an angry nation.
All right. Anthony, what would be the motive of such force? Because, I mean, before the police go out for, an operation or whatever, I mean, they have commanders, they have people who, tell them this is what, we're looking at and this is how we're going to be dealing with it. So what would be the motive of a police officer forcing his way into a home and doing all manner of things inside there for the people who live in particular houses?
One wouldn't know why anybody would want to do that.
Yeah.
For me, it's just an expression of a lack of professionalism and how to go about your public duty, because in any event, the security apparatus are public servants. But I'm not sure about what David says about a targeted group.
Yes.
The point is this, and the tragedy is this. When you look at where these things are happening, it's in the informal settlements. And this is an angry people. These are people who had some hope of going somewhere. So I do not know why the security apparatus cannot let them express their views openly. And what is heart-rending is when you see a baby in hospital, a 10-year-old gets killed. It doesn't make quite sense. So going forward, we need to look at, professionalism and people being able to stand up and say, this is wrong. You would remember the famous GSU officer during 2007, who was very professional in going about his work and held people at bay. That is how it's supposed to be. There is absolutely no justification. Like I saw yesterday of people, police officers breaking into a gate. What are you going to do there? Those are not people demonstrating. And even if they were demonstrating, the best you do is offer them security to go about making their concerns known.
And the reaction of some top police officers is that media is getting these pictures or these videos from other countries in the world and putting them as what's happening locally. Are they so out of touch? Are they that out of touch?
They are on the ivory tower. But anyway, also just to put something across also is that whereas we condemn the police, also citizenship, we also need to have to exercise restraint. Because you see, I would see them marauding, they are angry nation, angry people, carrying stones and all that. That's not a good image. But also, these are people who have the leaders who listen to. I mean, when Raila Odinga, for example, speaks, like he spoke yesterday in Kibera, and told them, you guys need to keep calm, you need to restrain. That's the kind of statesmanship that we want. Because you see, these are also a group of people who listen to a form of leadership.
Moses, allow me.
Yes. Very briefly, we want to take a break, just very briefly.
Yes. It becomes very hard to quell that when there has been no clarification.
Yes.
This media house has a former sub-editor who was a polling officer, presiding officer in Imara Daima, and it's on your papers today, that the former Nyabienge, I think is his name, committed suicide, saying that the elections were not credible. Now, for what it is worth, if IEBC is not able to treat Raila Odinga with respect, and at least the nation, and explain to them why they did not give or yield to what they had requested, it becomes nearly impossible for Raila Odinga to settle down in his heart and say, you know what, we lost. Because the last time they spoke, both Orengo and Mudavadi said, fine, this is a contest. There is a possibility we lost. Allow us access, though, into your servers, alongside the agents of the other party members, so that we are able to know, if we lost, we will concede and say, you know what, it was fair. So until that is done, it becomes very hard for him to calm down his supporters and end up with.
But the other question, David, is, and we have to take a break, but I have to put this to you. The other question is that whatever he said yesterday, maintain peace, be calm. Did it come late in the day? Would he have taken some sort of leadership into this protest, or the anger that his supporters had, and come out before everything happened and have maybe an organized mass protest or something, instead of having his supporters supporters all over the country going wild.
Our anger management processes are different. I am one of those people who, when I am angry, I keep quiet and reconsider what I am about to say. You wouldn't want Raila Odinga to rush to the screen when he's still very angry about the goings-on and speak to the nation, and then in that very critical moment probably say something worse that would let the country tear apart even more.
You've described him as a statesman. I mean,
he
would need to
He is a statesman, but statesmen also have their moments of anger. And so how they handle that anger is what makes them statesmen. If handling that anger took him taking time on reflecting about what to say when he appears on TV, then for me that is just all right.
All right. And we'll be coming to talk about what exactly he said and the kind of message, he had yesterday for his supporters. All right, but we have to take a short break right now. We'll be continuing with our conversation. Keep your views coming. #KIVUMBI 2017 or at Betty M. Kialo. Tweet me. I'd like to hear what you have to say about everything that's happening here in the country. All right, so we'll be back in a few minutes. Don't go away.
This is KTN News.
Yeah. Tunajijua, twajitambua, kila hatua twachukua.